Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wardroom. I am Lamerck. We have a very special show today. Not only are we going to be covering the battles 17 through 21, but we also have a very special guest with us here. I am joined today by AGS Harper. Harper, can you hear me? Are you there? Do we finally have you?
I can hear you. Yeah, you finally got me. I'm here.
Excellent. Well, we have been long awaiting the gift of your presence here on a wardroom or on one of our battles, and we're very, very happy to have you here because we have some big things to talk about coming for Holdfast, specifically a naval expansion that is supposedly, I've been told, coming before the end of the year. So we wanted to bring you on today to talk a little bit about this expansion and talk a little bit about what we can all expect and what you have in store for us. I know there's some things you can tell us, there's some things that you can't, but we're going to try and get as much as we can talked about today. And we do know that you'll be hopefully coming on again later on in your development process to tell us even more. So let's get started, Harper. First of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? You're a member of the AGS team. So what does that mean? What do you do in AGS? Like, introduce yourselves to our viewers a little bit.
All right, yeah. So I'm Harper. I've been playing Holdfast since about 2017, just before it came out in early access. I managed to hop on for some of the early play tests. Um, After about a year or so, I sort of ended up helping out a bit, making maps for the game, and eventually it sort of led into a full-time position with the company. And now I basically cover marketing, UI design, bit of map making now and again in my free time. Bit of everything really, to be honest with you. But yeah, so been with AGS since I would say about 2018, and yeah, going strong.
Excellent. Well, then we're really happy to have you here because then you can really take us through um, not just the expansion itself, but what I really wanted to talk to you about is, how we got here to a point where you guys are ready to tackle this. Now, we know that naval is my favorite part of the game, but it is not the biggest part of the game, which is the land play. So we know that you guys have been working on land improvements, UI improvements, all sorts of things to make the game modernize it and reappeal it to a modern audience from its beginnings in 2017. So what would made it possible to get us to today where we are really finally talking about a naval expansion, not just a naval update, a naval expansion? Like, take us through the behind the scenes process of your decision making there.
Yeah, so I mean, naval's always been something that's sort of on everyone's mind. Like it's never been something that we sort of shoved away and forgotten about. But obviously, like for the past couple of years, we've been sort of focused on the console release, which sort of took priority over everything, and that's why you did see improvements to things like the game's performance, UI, graphical improvements, everything to sort of modernize it to get it ready for consoles. Um, but obviously, like naval has always been there in the back of our minds. I mean, I remember when I was in Malta a couple of years ago, we literally were lucky enough to be invited aboard a Swedish sail ship, and we were talking about the naval update while we were looking around the ship. Then at the time, we have got footage of that, so maybe one day that can be released.
That's
Um,
awesome.
but yeah, it's so like it's always something we wanted to work on, and now like we finally got the game on consoles, and this naval update we feel is something that we can really really push and get more people involved in the naval side of things, and because it's definitely a great side of the game. I don't think anybody's hiding the fact that it just needs a bit more content to make it what it really really deserves to be. I mean, naval was the original design of the game back in the day,
Right.
but
Hold Fast
we
being
yeah, Age of Sail it
inspired
was going to
by.
be called.
Yeah. Oh, really? That was actually the
Yeah.
name of it? I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
so it's really come full circle. So this update, being called Age of Sail is us sort of closing that sort of story, I guess, in a way. Yeah.
Hmm. Excellent. So, um, w- you're saying closing that story? Is what we're putting into the game now some of the vision that you guys had originally had when the game was just starting its development, or well, I know that you weren't there for the beginning of the development, you came in the
Mm.
early access, but is that something that was being talked about back then, or do we have like a lot of new ideas kind of informed by the play experience that everybody's been having?
To be honest, without saying too much, I would say there's probably a mix of both. Like we have a lot of cool new features coming, but there's definitely going to be stuff that we would love to have added back then, and like the community would have, obviously requested. So there's a mix, I would say, but there's a lot. There's so much. Like this, I mean, initially we were planning on this just being a regular update, but obviously with the console release going so well, it sort of gave us the ability to do this major expansion. Think of it. The best way I can put it is to think about Frontlines and the sort of scale of that when it first came out, and now with the Frontlines 2.0 release, it's
Hmm.
sort of like its whole new big release just for the naval side of the game. Basically, it's
Yeah.
going to be great.
Yeah, when we heard that this got upgraded from update to expansion, it
Yeah.
really sent ripples through the naval community. There's no doubt about it, and everybody has been so excited to see what it is. So let's get down to it. Let's talk about what you can say today about what we are going to see, maps, classes, and what else. Take us through, as we stand today, because I know there's so much you can't tell us. But what can you tell us about what we should expect from this expansion?
Yeah, so I think obviously the most obvious one is the introduction of the pirate faction or the privateers, which I think was quite a surprise to a lot of people. Um, but no, I mean there's a lot coming with this update, and that's what I'm saying. This little release that we showed with just the pirate teaser is just a small thing of what a lot is coming. There's a lot of maps coming. I think we've shown a couple there on
Mhm.
some recent blog posts, so be sure to go and check those out. But there's loads of maps. I don't want to say an exact number, but there's definitely more than three. I can say that, and there's definitely more than five.
That's great.
So
Yeah,
we got a lot.
more the
but
merrier. I feel
yeah,
like we've been slugging around on open oceans, Fruity Islands for a long time,
well,
and
and
we're
and that's
ready.
yeah, and that's the thing. And a tricky thing with naval obviously is coming up with unique maps because a lot of people think, oh, it's just like water. What can you really do with it? But
Hmm.
we've taken some inspiration from community made maps. I think I don't think I can say that, but we have got some inspiration from community made maps, and it's going to be fruitful on that side of things. Definitely, I can
Wonderful.
confirm.
Yeah, variety is the spice of life, and especially in
Yeah.
naval, I think we are all very appreciative of the upcoming variety. Now, I had a question for you. Maybe you can answer this, maybe you can't.
Mm.
And it was because when you guys released the pirate privateer faction, I had a feeling that that was sort of a tie-in with like mechanics that are going to be coming with it, right? And
Right.
the question is that kind of like was that released to kind of showcase like the mechanical direction that you guys are going in? Not to say that that is the only thing that's it's going to be part of this because we know that there's tons of stuff that you can't talk about today. But is that kind of what the thought was for having that faction? Kind of signal
Yes.
the direction.
So I think I think we've already confirmed this in the blog post. There's going to be the ability to capture ships now, which is something that I've wanted from the get-go, even back in 2017, before I became
Same.
part of AGS. Like it just it's what you want to do when you're on the seas. You want to capture that ship,
Hmm.
like
Take a
it's a whole nother
prize.
level. So obviously introducing the pirate faction is, yeah, I guess a little shout towards that side of gameplay. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously the pirates have great marketability as well, and that's the other thing at least I've had to consider on my side of things is the marketing of this update, and we've still got a lot to show off, so don't worry.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm sure there will be more.
yeah,
And I mean I know it. But you know, I that's one of the things that I was championing. I know that there was let's say a lively conversation about the idea of a pirate faction, as
yeah,
compared to some long awaited for countries, nations. But one of the things that I would thought was just such a brilliant move from you guys is that when you go on social media, when you're doing the advertising for this, like sure, to be a British sailor, to be a French sailor, like that's fun, right? That's cool. It's historical. But if you want to get the masses absolutely frothing at the mouth to join in this experience, having them, be able to play pirate shanties and talk like pirates and, do pirate, Jack Sparrow, that kind of stuff, right? That is gonna create the hype. And, you have to be thinking, and I'm sure from your perspective, that, the hype has to match uh the level of expansion of the game. Because if you make this
Yeah.
incredible expansion and nobody pays attention to it because they think, oh wow, it's just a new factional update. Oh, we're gonna get some new skins, and they don't realize all of the gameplay stuff that's gonna come with being a pirate. You're not gonna pull the new players, and that's what all of these are, of course, at their core designed to do: improve and enliven the gameplay and the player base. So I, for one, think it was a genius move. Whether anyone else does, I don't know. But I'm putting my firm stamp of approval on your decision, not only because I lead a thing called the Mercs Pirate Fleet.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I guess you'd be the happiest out of
I
everyone.
am the happiest. I am the number one happiest person about the pirate faction. There's no question
But
about that.
that's the thing. Like when it comes to Holdfast, like it's about those interactions. It's about those sort of role play stuff that you can do, and getting a crew of people on your boat pretending to be pirates. Like I can't think of anything more Holdfast than that. And obviously, we're going to still stay true to accuracies of the time. Like we've based this entire privateer faction entirely around a pirate, so an actual
Yes.
real privateer. So yeah, we're not going too far out of sync. And there, like I said, there's plenty still to come. Like that is literally one of the most teasery teasers I've ever made. So just yeah, that's all I'll say.
More to come. More to come. Absolutely. All right. So I won't press you too much because I know there's so much you can't say.
Yeah.
And you have assured me that we will have you again, and maybe even some other members of AGS when things are
Mm,
more developed and you guys are ready to start really teasing and releasing these. You'll join us, and we'll have a special stream, as hopefully as part of your outreach to not only the community but the wider world, where you can talk to us a little bit more about some of those details. Um, let's talk about what we're here for today. We're here to watch the NSL. We're going to watch some of the battles in the NSL. And before we get to those battles, and we talk a little bit about some of the tactics we've seen from the admirals, and I talk you through some of that. I want to talk about if there's anything that you could tell us right now about how this expansion, the Age of Sail, is going to impact competitive play as you see it.
yeah. So this new sort of wave of competitive holdfast that I've only recently discovered is sick. Like I didn't realize actually quite how cool these sort of naval line battles, as I sort of call them, are. So competitive holdfast is definitely something that has always sort of been brought up. Either it's melee or line battles, and now with naval, it's always fun on that side of the game, and we're definitely going to be introducing a couple of things to sort of facilitate that a bit easier, more officially, in a sense that stuff like potentially this arena that you're looking at here could perhaps be in the game, let's say, or our take on it at least. And
Excited.
then a couple, yeah, exactly. So, and there'll also be a couple of maybe tweaks that you'll be able to do config-wise to help improve gameplay, to sort of tweak it a bit more to exactly how you want it to be,
Okay.
without going too much into stuff, because like I say, I don't know a lot that I can say.
Understood, of
But
course.
so yeah, there'll be a lot of stuff coming still to the competitive side for you guys to make use of. Like we introduced a lot of line battle maps a couple of major updates ago for the line battle community,
Right.
so it's sort of just the equivalent of that, in a way for the naval side. Yeah.
And what it really is exciting is, the what we're watching today, and the Coliseum that we're watching today was made by our map maker par excellence, Killam. And of course, it uses assets and all sorts of stuff. It's a custom map. It is unfortunately only restricted to PC players. But the idea of something like this being released to the wider audience means that console players are now going to have access to competitive naval in the NSL. And that is, I
Yeah.
think, one of the things that I am most excited about. And I think once people hear this, it's going to encourage a lot of these regiments who are out there in the community who have huge console player bases to start forming teams. And I think we're going to see some new teams coming in next year because of this. So this bombshell that you're dropping here for us today, I think is going to be a really healthy thing for the league, and it's going to make greater battles in the future. So we really thank
Yeah.
you for the support. And of
Well,
course,
like you've hit the nail on the head there. I'd say, like, you obviously, with the console release, like modding's a bit of a finicky thing, for that side of things. So being able to let
yeah.
them sort of enjoy this sort of thing is definitely a priority.
Well, we're so incredibly grateful, and I know everybody behind the NSL who's put so many hours, just pure volunteer time into making this spectacle, and this competition is eternally grateful to you guys for not only noticing, kind of our existence here, but the conversations that we've had behind the scenes and the support that you guys are interested in giving this because we love this game. We want to play it, forever, and we want to keep innovating and pushing the envelope of what is possible in Holdfast, and you extending our options, whether it's on the back end side with like you said, the functionality and the ability to change aspects and customize the battles a little bit further to the maps themselves. You allow us to push further because you're pushing further. So we're very, very grateful for this wonderful attention that Naval is getting. So excited to see that, and I'm so glad I can now
Well,
tell people that we're gonna have console players next season.
well, there you go. But also back to you guys as well. Like a huge thanks from, well, at least from me and everyone at the team, I'd say, because you guys have been doing this yourselves, and it's really the spirit of Holdfast. A lot of us on the team also started as mod makers, map makers, stuff like that. So it's really really in the spirit of Holdfast, and it's great to sort of be able to support that a little bit with an official inclusion for console players and stuff.
It is the thing that I love most about Holdfast is the regimental community aspect of it and how responsive that you guys are to that community. I know you can't give everybody everything they want. That's an impossibility.
Well, yeah.
You guys are a limited team doing your best as you always have been. But the 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 fact that you guys have always had like an ear amongst the officers of regiments, the leaders of regiments in the community, and it's always seemed to me that those who put time and effort into Holdfast, you meet them halfway. And you have certainly done that for us in Naval, and so we're like eternally grateful for the Naval community. I could speak on behalf of the Naval community. We are eternally grateful for what we're getting here, and it's going to be just phenomenal. All right,
I mean, wait,
uh,
just one more thing. I was going to say, like, who knows? It'd be good as well if we could potentially get some public naval events like we do the public line battles. I think that would really encourage people to sort of dip their toes into this side of the competitive game.
I agree.
So,
It's
yeah.
something that I mean, we've actually we did them a million years ago. My Regiment X, I think we hosted public naval.
I think I
The thing
remember,
is,
yeah.
yeah, the thing is that, and maybe we could hash it out right here on the stream. Is because the thing about line battles are a radically different experience than public
Yeah,
play,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So the line rules and the line formations. The only difference, for example, even in the NSL, the only difference here is that just like it is a single battle and it's a winner take all. So like the line battliness of the NSL, as we'll watch today, is more on account of the fact that like I don't. It's people organizing themselves, but there are no like hard and fast rules on how to play. There's no like firing in line. There's no like broadside requirements. So we'd have to come up with something that makes a public naval battle different than pubs.
Hmm.
And I've always struggled to do that. So maybe you could think about
Yeah.
something like that and talk
Yeah,
to
it's
me.
it's a tricky one. It's the same with sort of front lines as well, to be honest. It's always
Right.
something we've wanted to do, but it's about how do you make that like experience unique. And line battles in itself are just such a unique experience that it's sort of tricky, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. We have some the chat is giving us some suggestions.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Community admirals. So that is to say, something like we have a community event, but to make it so that the crews are really getting the best thing possible, maybe we have pre-assigned admirals,
Hmm.
just like lines have sort of like, the public players will join regimental lines to get the best out of the experience, and maybe something
Yeah, I
where
get you.
the captains are kind of prearranged. I don't know. I don't know if that's something anybody wants to do, but I think that's a cool idea as
No,
a
sounds
long
cool.
serving captain. But a conversation for another time. I wanted to just sort of open the floor if there's anything else that you wanted to talk about before we get to the NSL battles, because we've got a bunch of NSL battles and we've only got a certain amount of time to do it. Probably about a half an hour. I'm going to be blowing through these battles, to be honest with you. Um, is there anything that you want to tell us else about
uh,
this expansion?
yeah, I mean, just I guess just to repeat, it's absolutely massive. It might be one of the biggest ones we've done.
Well,
Um,
amazing.
and we've already got a lot of it done, which is really really promising. And I would say just stay tuned and look out for the things that are going to be coming.
Beautiful. Well, we will
Yeah.
have you back absolutely for it. and we'll talk evermore. As soon as you can talk, let me know, and we will talk because we're
Yeah,
so
brilliant.
excited about this. All right, so we do have a question in the chat. Is do you have a planned time for when a beta is going to be happening for this?
Oh
Do you
no,
have any
I don't
idea?
think. I don't think I
Okay.
could. No, I don't
Okay,
think I
fair
could say
enough.
anything about that.
Fair enough. All right. Okay, so let's get to some of the NSL battles here. And again, I have about a half an hour, 45 minutes, so I've got to blow through these battles, and I apologize if I am talking at full speed here. But Harper, what we do here is we take a look at strategy. There are many aspects to the NSL. There's many aspects that we track, right? We obviously we track the teams and how many points they get, right, and who wins and who loses. There is also the next level where we have all of the crewmen who are competing for, the top 5 rankings, the top 10 rankings, the top 30 rankings. So there is like 2 parallel competitions happening at any time in the NSL. There's the admirals fighting the admirals with their overall strategies. And then there's the crewmen themselves who are fighting to just be the best on the cannons, be the best at boarding, right? Getting lots of like a great KD ratio, getting great point totals and point values and average point scores. In the Wardroom, which is what we're doing here today, we focus on the admiral side of things, how these fleets perform against each other and how that influences the overall battle. So what we're going to do today is we're going to be looking at, I think, 5, if we can get to them, 5 battles. We're going to start with the Krakens, which is the KRA's KRN team, and versus the Leviathans, which is my team, fielded by the Regiment X, Lamarck's Pirate Fleet. So we're going to watch this particular battle was led by the incredible Admiral Safe from our side, and this was one of the most thrilling battles I have ever seen in the NSL. It is a really bold strategy that Safe took, like a suicidally bold strategy, and it paid off so well. And the way that it worked, Harper, was that there's a few metas developing in the NSL, and
All right.
so one of the metas is the idea of sort of staying in a position, getting a strong position, and playing a defensive game, right? Because the wind will favor one side or the other most times. Sometimes it's even. But today we have a southwest wind, which gives the Leviathans, who, if you're looking on my screen, that's these green ships. That's the Leviathans
Oh
in the
yeah.
foreground, and the Krakens, the KRA KRN group, is the yellow ships in the distance. So what you'll see is the Krakens are going to form a defensive line with that island at their back. The idea of the island at their back being to kind of prevent the Leviathans from cutting around behind them and hitting them in the rear, because there's going to be an island
Yeah.
in the way of that. Uh, but let's watch what Safe does. I'm going to bring it a little bit forward so you can really see these guys come in.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Safe's
Look at that formation.
Safe's, yeah. So you see, like that is all the Kraken's teeth facing this oncoming Leviathan's charge. But what you can see, and I'm gonna draw on the screen a little bit here, is the direction that the Leviathans are going, which seems to be kind of going this way to swing around behind them. And now here's my analysis is this. Defensive positions are extremely, extremely perilous. And the reason is because let's talk about where the wind is. So the wind is southwest. The wind is basically like this way right now, I would say. And so these guys going in this direction, all their ships pointed in this direction, mean that they are pretty far away from getting the wind. So let me ask you, Harper, how do you see this going? Because we have this motion here. Obviously, these guys are kind of headed towards the back of the line, maybe going to swing around this way. For these guys to turn in this direction or this direction is going to be slightly a slower wind. So what do you think is going to happen here? And we'll take a look. Make your predictions.
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I would think that surely with the wind, you'd be able to get around that island by the time that they've made any sort of headway to
Yeah.
turn. So I mean, to put it in British terms, you've got them exactly where you want them.
Okay. Now, and a good prediction. I think you're basically right here. Now, what happens and what is so exciting about this battle is it really does show that defensive positions, they come with their own very big vulnerabilities, especially based on how the wind is, how you're facing the wind. Now, an interesting thought would be that if the Krakens had done this exact same formation, except all their ships were facing this way, especially when the wind is going in this direction, that creates an entirely different dynamic where they can slip around this island and catch
Mm.
a really strong wind here. Now, I'm saying that, and maybe the Krakens in the chat are going, well, that's a ridiculous notion because, we start here, we would have to go dead against the wind and then swing around by the time that Leviathans get here. So timing is everything with these. But that said, if that option is not available, this defensive line can have some serious peril. And then the other question is, we do know that the Leviathans are going to cut behind here. The question for the Krakens is, do we turn this way and have an angle of fire as these guys escape through and behind this island, or do we turn this way, understanding that we're going to want to fire down this avenue here behind the other side of this island as these guys come around? And it's like a devil's bargain. There's no good options here. But let's see how it plays out, because this is really like such an exciting battle. I'm going to just fast forward a little bit here. And you can see now this is the moment of peril for the Leviathan ships, because the Krakens really do decide that they are going to hammer the Leviathans as they come in. And what we've learned in the NSL is the opening firefight is usually not too consequential unless the one of the teams can explode a few cannons on the enemy ships. So what we're seeing here, Harper, is the Leviathans are taking a beating as they come in, but they've got great speed. Now, I'm obviously fast forwarding it. This is much faster. This is double speed. But you can see immediately, as soon as these ships pass behind this island here, they get into the safe zone. Now, if you look on the top of the screen, you can see the Leviathan flagship has taken some damage. There's no question about it. It's gotten tagged on the way in. But let's reorient ourselves here. Where is the wind? The wind is this way, southwest. Where is every Kraken ship facing? Because they've wanted to get these shots in down here. They're facing dead against the wind. And that is the beauty of this play on Save's part. It was a extremely high risk, high reward play. And what he does at this point here is absolute genius, because he wants this orientation of the fleet. He wants them facing against the wind for as long as he can get them. And watch what he does here to create that. Again, he makes, it's all about choices. It's all about putting your enemy in a situation where they have really tough choices to make. By stopping these 8 guns, he continues to give the Krakens a really good target to focus on, but in the meantime, he swings his most powerful ship behind their line, and it creates an envelopment situation where the Krakens are screwed if they do and screwed if they don't. So that is what we're talking about when we talk about, the choices that you put an enemy against. And you can see here the 13 gun starts to take tremendous damage on the Kraken side. Cannon explosions, Harper, you're seeing. Just and its inability to fire back. And then as soon as he got what he wanted back here, he takes these 8 guns that are on the side and then has them join the 13 gun. And the Krakens are unfortunately stuck in a position where they have a very slow turn. Now, they don't go down all in one area here, and they put up a really heroic fight, getting their 13 gun into a rotation here, but it is always struggling. And look at this great 8 gun. I have to commend this 8 gun right here, Harper, because I mean, look what he's doing here. He's guarding that 13 gun with his life. He really is. He's doing the best that he can do to prolong the life of the 13 gun. The real meta, Harper, that we've noticed in here is that the 13 gun is the deciding factor in most of these battles. If it goes down, the team, it tends to have a really uphill battle to win. So if early on you lose your 13, or even by mid game you lose your 13, you're gonna have a very difficult time
it's a lot
coming
of
back
firepower.
from that. The cannons do more damage. They have a longer range. You have that front cannon on the 13 gun, which has a really long range. And the 8 gun cannons are just very they're just they're just small, and they don't do a ton of damage. And the problem with that is they don't do a ton of damage to the enemy 13. Because if you sink their 13, they've got to immediately sink your 13, or else they're going to get overpowered. Yeah. And that is, unfortunately, just such a deciding factor. We're going to try and address it next season. We'll see what we can do about it. But we're still in the early discussions about how we're going to do that. But then you see here, so big damage. We also have here a great Leviathan ship that stays behind to cross the T of this 13 gun here and put some fire into it, knowing that he is going to probably die doing that.
And is
Then we
that
have,
is that
yeah, go ahead.
to sort of stop them from being able to do exactly what just happened to them, I guess?
Yeah, so right, so you've noticed, and the wind, of course, she's good for you at some point, and then she gets bad for you
Yeah.
once you kind of pass, right? So we call that like a circle of death or a doom spiral, right? If two teams continuously circle each other, there's going to be a part where one team has the wind, they get a burst of speed, they get to cut behind the enemy, but then that wheel turns, and then the other team gets the opportunity. And so what you can see here is that we have a group of Leviathans over here, we have a group of Leviathans over here. This is a very dangerous position at this point for the Leviathans. Even though at this point the the Leviathans have sunk the Kraken's flagship, you have a real concentration of force with these 3 8 guns. With one of the 8 guns here, Leviathans is just completely T-crossed by these 3 8 guns, and then the flagship over here. So I think the answer to your question is yes. What the Kraken are doing right now is they're trying to sort of regather themselves. And I do think that Safe's plan here to break these guys off was to stop. I'll draw on the screen to just really focus on what you were saying, is to stop the Krakens hopefully from swinging in this way, and like you
Mhm.
said, kind of getting the same kind of shots that the Leviathans had gotten them earlier. This blocks that, this rate of fire, this threat here. Because and one of the beautiful things about Holdfast, especially Holdfast Naval, there is a morale factor. These are real people piloting these ships and
Yeah.
real people on these crews. And you feel pressure. When an enemy crosses your T, it's not like some NPC who's going to do the ultimate, whatever is perfect, right? They'll make the perfect move. These are real people, and they feel a serious amount of like fear and morale. And we talk about when teams in the NSL, they do, like, there is a break in morale where they actually just start panicking. Oh my God, they're behind us. What do we do? Some of us go this way, some of us go that way. Group cohesion breaks, and so I mean that's not happening here. One thing I will say from the Krakens, because I've been, obviously I've been tooting the horn of the Leviathans here because I thought that was such a cool play, and they are my team. But for the Krakens, they are as professional as a team can get. There's no question about it. These guys are hardened warriors here. Now, this is a battle that did not go great for them because of what I thought was just a genius play on Safe's part. But they don't ever give up, and they don't ever break formation. They don't have those morale breaks. Some other teams do, they don't. And so I think what you would see if we watch the rest of this battle is that these guys they never say die. They will fight it out to the end. Whether it's good for them, whether it's bad for them, they will fight it out in good order till the end every time. That's what makes the Kraken so dangerous. And by the way, and I've said this recently in some of our battles in which the Krakens have, because the Krakens wipe the floor with other teams on a regular basis. They are the number 2 team of the season, and if the Leviathans, if we Leviathans like didn't exist here, the Krakens would be to the league where the Leviathans are currently. They're like undefeated. We are extremely lucky, and we have just great crew, and we have great captains, and we've managed to win every battle so far. If the
Yeah.
Leviathans weren't here, it would be the Krakens who would be able to say, we are the undefeated team. We have the best captains. We have the best crews. They show it every battle. And you can see it here. You know, they really marshal their forces. They put up an extremely competent line battle. They use this 8 gun out here to, again, keep like our 13 gun and 8 gun focus on something that's really not the important part of the battle, which is really this battle down here. So they do a great job recovering from that shock opening. Um, and yeah, it's just something I want to really comment on the Krakens. They are an incredibly dangerous team, always. Um, so anyway,
Yeah,
um,
the red fire's really impressive as well. Just on that clip a second ago, the
yeah,
the crews must be pretty well drilled.
yeah, as between the Leviathans and the Krakens, and by the way, like the Krakens are like our biggest rivals. They always have been.
Hmm.
It before the NSL, there was something called the XNL, which was like our first foray into the competitive scene. And I believe the final battle between X, my regiment, and the KRN was literally a single shot difference. It was 2 completely battered down 8 guns with like 0 HP, and we just happened to get the shot before they did, and we won it
Wow.
based on that. I mean, it was that razor close. The Krakens have always been really good friends with us and really strong rivals for us. So we love it. All right. So I just wanted to note that because I just thought that was such an impressive move on Save's part, and it really was like the crucial moment of the battle. All right, so let's move on. We are definitely not going to be able to get through all these battles today, but let's get to another one. Let's go to week 18, the SCP-38 versus the Royal Black Fleet. This was a really fun battle. So we're talking about the SCP, which are, I think right now they're the third place team in the league. They've just begun to jockey with the Krakens for the second and third place, but they have traditionally been the third place team. This is a huge hodgepodge of regiments that came together to create a really interesting team. All right, so let's just show where they start. We've got the SCP in the yellow, you can see on the top, the Royals in the green, so that's these guys over here. Oh, let me mute that. And let's take a look at how this goes. So they start, you can really see right off the bat that the SCP have another thing that you see in the meta a lot, Harper, which is notice that this 13 gun is offset from the rest of this line.
Hmm.
That is the 13 gun is so important as a ship that it going down early is a doom knell for the rest of that team. And so what you see here is the teams have learned that the 8 guns are the shield, and they guard the 13 gun in an ideal situation. The 13 gun's extra range allows it to hit the same targets that these 8 guns are in line for, but only the 13, like an 8 gun will only stay up as far as these 8 guns can fire at each other, right? So these 8 guns will stay at a sort of maximum distance from each other and lob shots. And if they're at that maximum distance, then they can't push any of that farther to get to the 13. Meanwhile, the 13 is able to also hit that maximum range. And you're going to see here in this battle, the SCP-38 versus the Royals, that the SCP guys really, and this is part of their journey through this season, where they have just professionalized so much in their fleet tactics. They've become really killer at the fleet tactics game. So you can really see this happening here, right? So as you notice, the offset 13 gun is in no danger, right? See where all these shots are landing over here,
Yeah.
Harper? None of them are really reaching it. But the enemy's 13 gun, which is in line, right? The Royals 13 gun, which is in line with the rest of its 8 guns, that is in danger of being shot by these 8 gun shots. And we might even see the 13 gun lobbing shots over there. So that's the danger here. Now, that's not what wins or loses this battle. It's just an interesting comment to make about, like a level of professionalism. This 13 gun can hit this 13 gun. This 13 gun can hit this 13 gun. But it's what the 8s can do. All of these 8s can hit that 13 gun, but these 8s cannot reach that 13 gun. That's the meta that's kind of grown here. But I want to bring us to the real cautionary tale, and a real example of why the 13 gun is so important and how you must preserve it. We've got some great gunboat battles, by the way. The gunboat is
I
like
was about to say, how important are those little boats to the overall
so
battles?
the answer is they serve an interesting function. If left, unbothered, they are another half of an 8 gun, right? Because it's those 2 front cannons. Those are the 8 gun cannons, right? So if you don't stop these guys, because I think what we have is 5 gunboats and 2, maybe 4 gunboats and 2. 5 gunboats, 2 rocket boats. And each team is allowed to take out any 2 of those at any given time. And when one sinks, they can take out another one, right? So they have a pool of these that they can pull from the battle, but they can only have 2 of those boats out at any given time. Most teams start with the gunboats, and they use them to. The first thing they do usually is these gunboats will fight with each other. And whoever wins, then they move on to harass the rear of the enemy team. That's like the basic way that this works. And the rocket boats are actually made in such a way. I think they have like 2 carpenters on them, so they are actually incredibly good boarding boats. If you can get a rocket boat to touch an enemy ship, you can deposit 2 carpenters out of their ship, which is horrible for an enemy team to deal with.
Yeah, I
because
can imagine.
they can demask. So that is also another nuance to them. Do they have a huge swing on the battle? More so towards the end of the battles when there are fewer ships. But what they really are is they are point farming machines. They can add so much to the final point score. And the point score in the NSL matters when 2 teams are tied on their win-loss record, right? So this is something that we're seeing now with the SCP and the Krakens, where they are the SCP and the Krakens are kind of like they both have the same win-loss record. So then it's whoever has more points. That's the person who makes second place, and the guy who has less points makes third place. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. But that makes these guys matter a lot for those teams. So anyway, and they're always a really fun watch because they do tend to be like these are like the cavalry. They're the cavalry
Yeah.
of the event. If we give a land analogy,
I
and they're
love
like
the
riotous.
gunboats. We used to run a little fun round at the end of our events where we'd put the speed on the gunboats really, really fast, and you just zip around in these speedboats firing the guns.
It's a delight. They are so much fun, and yeah, you can see us a little action here. But we are not here to talk about that. We're here to talk
Yes,
about the
no, no,
fleets.
no.
We have to stay on the fleets because I have absolutely no time left to keep doing this. We're going to get probably through this battle and maybe one more. But here is where things get really dicey. Okay. So again, we have the SCP-38s on the left side of the screen. We have the Royal Black Fleets coming down the right side of the screen. The SCP-38s, the wind. Let's just draw the wind for you here, just so like you can really see. The wind is going southeast, so that's this way here, maybe a little bit further down, maybe more like this way. And so these guys are going kind of directly against the wind. And what they do a really good job of is they just create a line formation and they just slowly maneuver upwards while these guys having pretty decent wind are going to jet in. But notice, Harper, what are they leading their fleet with?
Oh no.
It's the 13
It's the
gun.
yep.
So you can maybe predict what's going to happen next. You want to do another
Yeah.
prediction on how this is going to go?
Okay. I have a feeling the 13 gun's gonna get caught off guard and get a bit peppered.
Right. And the reason being is it has to go through this narrow strait right here.
Yeah.
So it
I was
doesn't
going
have
to
the
ask how
option.
important is the terrain to like how much do you have to consider that?
This map is a fleet destroying map, and it's these pill shaped islands, specifically these two back here, but we're not going to see that today. It is
Mm.
extraordinarily important to choose the angle of attack based off of your terrain. Almost every map has some kind of islands in it, and they do force choke points like this. And you're going to see right now how important terrain is and how the choices you make to utilize what ship comes through. But like, look at that fire raining down on that 13 gun.
Yeah.
And you're going to see, I mean, it's going to take about a minute of like fast forward game time, but maybe like 2 minutes maximum to watch this 13 gun get ripped to shreds. And that's the real takeaway here is, if you're going to do an aggressive charge, you've got to lead with your 8 guns because they'll get the battle started. Whatever ship comes first, that's the ship that's going to take the heat, right? And yeah, it gets real ugly real fast. And you can see now the 13 gun cuts its sails. It lets the 8 guns go in front of it, right? This is a great move, realizing, holy shit, we're getting pounded by this enemy fleet. And what he wants to do on that 13 gun is he wants to, create that orderly battle formation where the 13 gun is offset by the 8s. But to send the 13 gun in first, it's already lost half of its ship HP. And
Yeah.
no sign that this maneuver has taken it out of range. And in the escape it's trying to make from that range, it is unfortunately getting hammered, absolutely hammered. And so, they're going to lose it momentarily. And it just goes to show, you really can't lead with your 13 guns in this league because enemies know where to put their focus fire. The teams have a year, almost some of these teams have 2 years of experience now in the competitive scene, considering that we had a preseason last year. And you're just going to see, I mean, they don't stop. They don't stop. And what you can really see that's so interesting is that the Royal Black Fleets understand the situation that they're in, and this really sharp angle of attack here is meant to cut off. You see how they're going to like their trajectory is just like cut off in this island. So
Yeah.
these guys are going to go here, and these guys are going to try and cut them off. That is a bid by the Royals to put pressure. We talked about that morale earlier, to put pressure on the front of this fleet so that fleet turns out and has to focus fire with these lead ships because they want these guys to stop focusing on the 13. They want to put that pressure. But a really strong admiral is going to say, I don't give a shit about losing this ship. I'll give that ship away all day to sink this one over here because that's their capital ship. It's their most important one. And so that's what we're going to see the SCP do a really great job of just maintaining their composure and knowing what the target is. The target's the 13 gun, and until it sinks, they're not going to stop. And as soon as it sinks, then they can play out the rest of this battle from a position of extraordinary strength. I also want to note what a great formation this is because even this sort of diagonal formation here, the 13 gun being furthest offset again, even though it's not like the most orderly thing with like 2 8 guns in front and then the 13 gun and the 2 or 8 guns here, that's okay. What matters most is that this 13 gun is going to have a very healthy distance from these 8 guns, lobbing shots over it without taking too much in response. This really goes to show, I think, just how advanced a team the SCP-38s are. They're just such a great team, and they really deserve their like third to second place rankings in the league. Yeah,
Yeah, and the
there
rate of
goes.
fire again, really impressive.
I mean, you can really see how, and let me slow it down so you can really see, because remember, this is double speed here, but like the concentration of fire, the ability for these teams to pick a target and just turn every cannon towards it and just slam onto it. um you know it's such a beautiful thing to have watched these teams develop into competitive behemoths. And now we see that the Royal Black Fleet are actually in a very good position from here on out, because they have cut the front of the SCP-38s off. The only problem is they can't do anything about this 13 gun. Um, and that's going to mean that the 13 gun, with even though it's at half health, it's going to have the ability to just like throw shots over here. So I just thought this was a really great cautionary tale. The Royals, by the way, have absolutely learned this lesson. This was weeks and weeks ago. The Royals just like fought one of the last battles was fighting against us, the Leviathans, and they showed just an incredible learning from this. And this battle, I believe, was something that they had thought about a lot and watched a lot, when they were preparing to fight my team, and you could really see the difference. So while I'm dragging the Royals a little bit on this, we love to see a team learn from their mistakes, and it's very clear that the Royals did learn from this mistake about what you do with that 13, and I just want to commend them on doing so. Um, I think this is probably all we can probably see right now. Let's see. Jackals with all the This is such a great battle though. Oh, this is amazing. All right, we're gonna try it. I'm gonna push a little bit. I've got like a promotion ceremony at 3:30. I've got to get out of here really soon. But I really wanted to show this battle. It was amazing. These two fleets. This is the Jackals versus the Krakens. Again, the Kraken's back. The Jackals are a team, Harper, that are famous for really aggressive boarding actions. They're changing their team name next season to the Beavers of the Baltic Sea because they love
Oh,
to
they'll
chew
like the
on
update
wood.
then.
Oh, yeah. Well, boarding actions, capturing ships, but most importantly, demassing ships is what they're famous for. Now, that's the upside of the Jackals. The downside of the Jackals is that focus on aggression can put them in situations where they just take a tremendous amount of damage on the approach towards enemies here. Now, what we can see, the northeast, I've even got already the direction. This is actually in game. I was drawing this. That's the direction of the wind. So they're both going with the wind. The issue here is that, and I'll change the color of my little doodle here. The difference here is that when they do turn onto the enemy and try and cut and hit them, that's not really going with the wind, and that slows them down. What happens here is that the Jackals do this absolutely incredible maneuver, and they completely surround the Krakens. This is the Krakens, probably the closest the Krakens have come to losing to any other team, maybe in the league. Um, and so, but the again, the Kraken's pure discipline and their lack of getting shaken in the face of what seems to be like an overwhelmingly bad position is what saves their lives in this, because they do not give up. They continue to focus fire. And here's the beginning of that. And we're just going to watch this very quickly, but this is the beginning of that Jackals. And you can just see the focus fire here, Harper, like just
Oh
how
yeah.
the Krakens, these green ships, are just hammering that ship as it comes in. This approach from the Jackals, where they split most of their fleet and they send them to swing around the rear of the Krakens, it's a beautiful maneuver, but on the approach, they lose so many cannons and they get so battered on the way in that by the end of the battle, their ships literally have no cannons left. They have 3 ships and maybe 1 cannon between all those ships. So they cannot actually win the battle, even though this maneuver here was
Oh,
so
it's a big
exciting.
hit.
Huge. I mean, you're seeing cannons exploding like crazy. The Krakens just sit there and they see that these
Yeah.
guys are coming around behind them, but they say, if we can destroy all these cannons, we can do something great. But what the Jackals do here that is so exceptional is they beat the hell out of the Kraken's flagship. And this is the exception kind of that proves the rule here. The Krakens still win this battle, but they lose their flagship
Yeah, it's getting
really
a lot.
early on. right? And you'll see it go down momentarily. But it's really these three ships down here that you've got to watch. These are the guys that win the battle for them. They decide they're going to attack the enemy flagship, and they don't. They're going to lose their flagship. Fine, it's gone. Whatever. Um, but they're going to put the hurt on the Jackal's flagship, such that even though the Jackal's flagship like it survives to almost the end of the round, it has no cannons. It cannot fire. Well, that's all great. So it's great to have ships, but if they can't fire back at the enemy, you can't
Yeah.
win. And so, this is an incredible. I mean, the Krakens deserve every compliment that I can give them for the way they held together with that constant Kraken's professionalism that never goes away. They never say die. They constantly, but like right now, the Jackals have them totally surrounded, and you can see it. But you'll notice that the Jackal's rate of fire is very slow.
Yeah.
It's because they don't have any cannons. They're losing their cannons like crazy. And so, the Krakens who have just like really, really great cannoneers, they just stick with it
Yeah,
and
they
they
don't
just
mind
keep
seeing
plugging
that.
away. No, they don't, because they, I think, sense that this isn't as bad as it looks. And you can see now the Jackals are trying. I think they've only got like one. You're seeing more cannon explosions off that flagship.
Yeah.
They probably have no cannons on the left side of that flagship. So now they're freaking out. They have the most powerful ship, half HP, and no way to really fire back at the enemy. They have to run. The flagship has to run and just taking fire while it does so. And yeah, these Kraken 8 guns, they just plug away at it. This is such an interesting battle because it breaks so many conventions that we think of as the norms of the meta. Your 13 gun goes down, your team is screwed. But in here, it was the Krakens again. They're just pure professionalism. Their ability to not panic under fire, to keep their formations, and to keep the fire coming at the enemy, and to blow up enemy cannons that makes it so that this 13 gun is fleeing from 8 guns, fleeing
Yeah, look
like
at
its
it
life
go.
depends on it, and just taking shots in the rear, and those shots at the rear, that backboard of these ships has so much HP in it. It takes such a huge chunk. It survives, but it survives so busted up that it can almost not do anything. And then the Krakens just then the Jackals have to run. You'll see that at the end of this battle, I'll skip forward. These guys are just fleeing. Um, like this is the end of the battle. You'll see all these guys. I'm trying to get an overhead for you, but they're just running. This is a
Yeah.
ship. This is one of the ships. They're
Complete
running.
disarray.
They can't do anything. They have no cannons. And we're sitting there as hosts, not really knowing this information, going like, what the hell are you doing? Turn around and fight. You can beat the Krakens. You don't realize it. You've got two ships that are comparable, right? They've got two 8 guns that are comparable and a 13 gun that can shoot from long distance. What the hell are you doing? But they don't have any cannons to do it. They've got one cannon on that flagship. So just amazing. And we do know what can you I think we've released the tidbit about the cannons, right? For the
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
so
Yeah, so
that's,
they'll
I
be
mean,
repairable.
right. So that's one of the hugest things, Harper, that is going to change this league. That's not going to be a problem anymore. Cannons are going to be, there's going to be part of these teams that are just hammering these cannons like crazy, trying to get them back up and operational.
Yeah,
Uh,
like the Jackals would have been able to
they would
potentially
have
turn this
won.
thing around. Yeah.
I think. So anyway,
Lots of questions.
yeah. I mean, so much. Um, All right. Well, that's where we're going to have to end it because I have got to get to some other internal stuff for my regiment. But Harper, it has been so wonderful having you, and we hope to have you back soon to talk a little bit more about what this expansion is going to bring and some more details. And I really appreciate the time that you've taken to be here with me today and tell this community a little bit about it. And we're just like again, we are just so very grateful that AGS has decided to put some real hard effort into, revolutionizing naval. We've been doing our best as a regiment to keep pushing this forward, but we can't do it without you. We can't do it without all the wonderful SDK options that you guys have previously made, and all the metrics that we're already able to control, and the idea that we're going to get more and more and more. It's going to be great for public play, but it's going to be really great for competition. So we're very thankful to you and for your time today.
Yeah, no, cheers for having me. It's been good to talk a little bit more about the update and also learn more about this side of the game. Like I said, I've only been sort of dipping my toes into it a little bit myself. I'd love to take part in something like this one day in one of these battles. It'd be great.
Well, you're allowed. You can do that anytime. Anybody who's watching, anybody in Holdfast, these two teams, right? What we do is we have the team sign up, and they usually bring somewhere between 20 and 30 players. But then people who are not on either of the two teams who are competing can sign up as mercenaries to fill out extra slots. So you are welcome any
Brilliant.
week you want to sign up as a mercenary, get on one of these ships and see what it's like from the decks of these ships. It is a riot. It is a lot of fun. So we hope to see you in battle, and of course, you are always welcome to come join me for a host,
Oh yeah,
and
by all
we
means.
can react to this live in real time. So please take me up on it sometime, okay? We would love to have you.
Brilliant. Yeah, excellent. Like I said, I'll hopefully as well be able to bring some more guys with me for the next little insight. So make sure you guys stay
Perfect.
tuned.
All right, yeah, you heard it here, folks. Stay tuned. We've got more expansion information coming in the next few weeks or months as the AGS team continues to solidify the Age of Sail expansion, which is going to drastically change the way we play Naval here in Holdfast Nations of War. Last time, Harper, just wanted to say so much of a thank you for joining us today, and hope you had fun. And we'll do this again sometime soon. And with that, everybody, to everybody in the chat and to all of you who are watching now or in the future, we sincerely hope that you enjoyed today. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all the battles. I do have to run, but we will cover more battles in the next Wardroom. So until then, we will see you guys next week. I will be admiraling again. It is myself versus, I believe, the Marines. It is the Leviathans versus the Marines, I think, next week. So we'll see you there. And thanks so much. Have a great weekend, everybody.